3 Portland schools are trying a new approach this year to deal with the disruptions caused by cell phones in the classroom.
The plan is to lock them away for the entire school day. Fox 12 investigative reporter Ezra Kaplan went out to see how the process is going to work and heard from some students who are skeptical that it will work.
As kids head back to the classroom, there's a new item on the supply list. It's called a Yonder pouch. And when they get to school, well, they take their phones and slide them right in.
First thing in the morning, they just put their cell phone in, and at that point, they're locked.
That means students won't be able to access their phones for the entirety of the school day.
So the goal here is to give our students a 7-hour respite from the smartphones.
The new program is being rolled out this year at Grant and Cleveland high schools as well as Beaumont Middle School. At the beginning of the year, each student will be provided a numbered Yonder pouch that they will be responsible for, just like with textbooks or laptops.
My goal here is for better engagement. Better engagement for our students with their teachers, with their instruction, and quite frankly, with each other.
A nationwide survey conducted last year found that 72% of high school teachers say that cell phone distraction is a major problem in their classrooms. Earlier this month, Lake Oswego School District announced that all cell phones will be banned during the school day for the coming year. And Portland Public Schools is considering a similar ban for 2025. But where the Yonder program stands out is the lock.
Once they close it, it's secure, and it only can be unlocked with a unlocking mechanism that they'll have access to at the end of the school day.
And for parents used to having access to their kids throughout the day, Principal McGee says maybe we do it the old-fashioned way.
There are family emergencies, and so the expectation is to do what we did for many, many, many decades, which is the parent calls the main office, and we get the message to the student as soon as possible.
But what about when the unthinkable strikes and there is a serious situation, like a school shooting? Don't kids need their phones then?
The last thing we want is for kids to be on their cell phones. What the experts have told us is that students need to be quiet. Everything needs to be put away. Sometimes the cell phones can get in the way of that.
And he says sometimes the cell phones themselves are the cause of distress.
But the reality is our kids are in crisis every single day. Emergencies are happening every single day, because of the constant use of smartphones.
Crisis or not, some students are not on board with the new plan. Noah Brown started a petition on change.org to oppose the new policy, which has gathered over 1,000 signatures. What are some of the main issues that kind of stand out to you?
Well, I think the biggest points are safety, funds, and the fact that this isn't really fixing the underlying issues.
He says that the underlying issue is enforcement.
I can completely understand where administration is coming from. This is a very frustrating issue for students and for teachers. But ultimately, I think the issue comes down to enforcement rather than what kind of policy is being used.
Brown says that a policy utilized last year to keep cell phones out of the classroom was inconsistently applied, and he's doubtful that anything will change this time around.
The same students that wanted to use their phones before are going to use their phones. They're just going to find a way to get around this.
And when it comes to the money, McGee says the dollars are coming from his principal's discretionary budget, rather than the funds meant for teaching and learning.
It is a decent amount of money, and to be honest, if we're able to increase engagement and eliminate some of the problematic behaviors that we've been able to see, it'll be the best money I've spent as a principal.
An investment in education, locking away distractions to open the door for learning. While there may be some skepticism from students, Principal McGee notes that about 90% of parents that he's talked to have been in favor of the new policy. He also says that keeping cell phones out of schools could be helpful in addressing the issue of online or cyberbullying. He doesn't think it will end bullying completely, but he's hopeful that some of those issues may become more visible to adults and create more opportunities for them to intervene on the child's behalf. It's going to be a really big year for cell phone policy around the area, and we're going to be checking in as it goes on.
Boy, that bullying issue is an important point. I mean, there were bullies back when we were growing up and we didn't have phones, but you're right, it was visible bullying.
That's right.
That
That's
anybody
absolutely
standing
right.
around could actually see versus just a private silent bully.
It's hard for those teachers to see what's happening if it's just happening on the phone.
Hey, Ezra, show us, if you will, and everyone at home how this works.
We brought one of the Yonder pouches here. So this is the pouch itself, and what you're going to do is you just basically slide the phone right in, and then it's just a click. And to unlock it,
Yeah, you
they're going to
cannot
have
get that open though.
No,
when it's
this
clipped. There's
is.
nothing you
I
can do.
mean, this is pretty tight.
Yeah.
You could cut it, but then you can't use
Right.
it again. So to unlock it, they're going to have these kinds of unlocking devices on carts, and they'll bring them out to the door at the end of the day, and you just kind of tap it right here,
Super easy.
open it up, and then you can get your phone.
You know, I've been at concerts though where they have these, and there's a long line. You know, for, often. I mean, some people do it well, some people don't. So
Yeah.
there's probably going to be a learning curve on that end as well when they're trying to get their phones back.
Absolutely. And one of the things that Principal McGee told us was that this is going to be a learning process for
Yeah.
everybody. Everybody involved, they know that there's going to be glitches, there's going to be things that they're going to figure out, and they're going to work on it as they go.
I'm anxious to have you revisit at the end of the school year.
Yeah.
To see
Oh,
how,
absolutely. And
what
we'll
the
be checking
impact has
in.
been. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. I would love to hear from teachers and students.
for
I mean,
sure.
who knows? You know, maybe
Yeah.
they'll be more connected and actually appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, in some of the places where this has happened before, where they've actually implemented this, they've heard some really positive things from the students, really about that connection.
Yeah.
And it turns out they don't necessarily miss them at the end.
Oh,
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ezra, thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Great
Great
story.
piece.
Really